Those were softball questions. I saved the toughest for last. Dreamport Productions. Here is the final question. How do you feel that the Wolfman, the Bride of Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster, the Mummy, Dracula, and so many more? So not only do the monsters have a connection to each other, but also to our universe. Universal Orlando has finally announced their Dark Universe, a land with excitement, a land with darkness, a land with humanity. Now, if you watch that promo video that they did put out, lots of good stuff in there, lots of stuff. But there was lots of details left out. And if you did not explore around and click on the website and examine a lot of stuff, there was a lot of stuff that you may have missed. So we all know when it comes to the Universal monsters, how much I really cannot stand them. What the f? Okay, maybe I'm being a little harsh, but me being a Horror Nights fan, I just gotta be honest, I am tired of seeing the monsters, and I've said this over and over again. But leave it up to Universal to do something with a land that is monstrous. Actually excited for monsters. I'm actually just want to explore all these elements and see all the creatures and the monsters and hear the stories. Yes, Universal did it. So what they brought up recently was the Dark Universe, which is their land dedicated to classic monsters. In fact, when that announcement dropped, I was in the middle of actually editing a future video that's gonna come to the channel. Some of this could have changed, as we already have seen some of the promo art that is in the Epic Universe Preview Center. Now, what's interesting enough, they talked about there was two restaurants, the two main restaurants, obviously, the Das Steakhouse, hopefully I said that right. And there's something very interesting about that one that is almost a tie to something else they mentioned. I'll get back to that in a second. And then the Burning Blade Tavern, which is another one they mentioned. This one's gonna have, you know, all your pretzels, your bratwursts, your burgers. But what's interesting is they talked about that sort of the windmill and how does that work. It's supposed to light on fire at least every 20 minutes is what they're stating, and that they use a mix of fuel. That way it can be seen during the day and even more so at night. And like I said, there's little tidbits like that that they just completely left out. And this one, I kind of just was like, wait a minute, what? You guys didn't even mention this. It's called the Lacey's Cottage, which is near the Frankenstein's Manor. This is going to be a food stand where the original Frankenstein monster once received subsistence. Here, guests can find a variety of snacks, cool treats like a cinnamon bread, ice cream, and twisted taters. So there is a one HHN nod in this land. So that's cool. And it says and more. It could be a throwback to anything that we've had with Horror Nights food related. So that's kind of cool. Twisted taters. There you go. Year round. And Dark Universe. And I bet you didn't know the actual ride in the back of the big old mansion. It's actually called Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein Experiment. Didn't quite get that. I mean, maybe have glossed over in the video, or they said it and then they showed so much stuff like I've completely forgot. But yeah, that's kind of cool. It has almost like this HHN style house name to it. And this was something cool that they kind of left out. They said the Phantom of the Opera's organ within Monsters Unchained features 14 individual flame points that shoot vertical flames over 3 feet in the air and dance in sequency with the organ music. I don't know if this is in the queue line or is this in the ride, but wow, that is insane to see, I'm sure. A organ shooting up flames and synchronized to the music. And by the way, in that video that they released about this, especially the part where they talk about this ride, there is a part where we sort of see, I believe it's the Wolfman, and it is kind of blurry. It's in the background. You don't really get to see it. It was confirmed shortly after that is not CGI we are seeing. That is probably a full animatronic-esque figure that we are looking at moving. So I have no words when it comes to something like that. That is going to be insane to see in person. Truly insane. Now, they also talked about you meeting some of the monsters, and this was sort of a big draw because for us here in Florida, we don't have the monster characters walking around unless it's a private event. But this time they actually added them into this land. It makes sense. You can meet Frankenstein's monster and the bride. They will be sort of doing a meet and greet. But there's also some bonus characters that they did not really kind of mention here. We will be able to meet Igor, the Invisible Man, a courageous monster hunter. Van Helsing, maybe? Just can't really use the name on that one. Or there will be a villager who walks around doing music, maybe with a violin or something, who tells stories about the land and stuff. So that's going to be interesting. And there's something they state in here, and it says, you never know who or what may be lurking in the shadows. Now, this could be a play on words. It could just be on being about lurking in the shadows and monsters. It also states that you will meet the villagers' residents. And what I gather from this, from the concept art and reading this, is that this whole area, the land, is going to have people that actually walk around and interact with you. And I don't think we've ever had this at Universal before. We've had meet and greets, we've had sort of the solo meet and greet sort of thing, but not characters that roam around freely and just talk. The only thing that I can think of that's close to this is how Beetlejuice is kind of like his own just thing. He just comes out and does whatever, stands on top of chairs, trash cans, whatever, talks. He does whatever he wants to do. Here in Florida, you can't have, Frankenstein's monster roam around because he would just be bombarded with people. So the idea of having these residents kind of walk around and tell stories and interact with people, that is truly next level for a theme park. Now, other theme parks have done this, yes, but it becomes sort of a nightmare to deal with. So it'll be interesting to see how long this stays or if it, goes away very quickly. And they also talk a bit about the land, and this is what I think is so interesting. So they talk about from the menacing streets of Darkmoor Village to the catacombs beneath Frankenstein's manor. A new generation of monsters welcomes unwary visitors to their domain. Hear me out. I'm gathering this is supposed to be the very scary element. Almost like Nocturne Alley is very dark and kind of ominous and scary. I think the catacombs underneath Frankenstein's manor is going to be sort of like a walkthrough experience that they're not talking about. They're not really bringing this to the attention, but that's what I gather. Because when you talk about catacombs, they are these dark, it's very hallway-esque, scary, the skulls usually everywhere, cobwebs. And if there is sort of this off-beaten path and maybe you end up going down an alleyway and then into the catacombs and there could be monsters lurking down there, who knows? That could be really cool, almost like a year-round haunt experience. Not quite to, the HHN level, but still kind of scary and spooky and fun. that could be really dope. But there's also another time that they mention these catacombs, or at least catacombs in general. But they also mentioned in that article about the catacombs as well. So, and the restaurant is run by vampire familiars or servants. Just don't venture down to the catacombs below, or you might find yourself on the vampire menu. Could it be those same catacombs they're talking about? Could be kind of cool. Like, they're stating that maybe vampires are in there as well. So I don't know if they somehow built an underground type of thing in Dark Universe. I don't know how they would have done that, I guess, but magic. There we go. So the idea of Dark Universe, in talking about this land, I talked about it with Lash and Dreamport. And of course, I thought, why not bring them into the video? And I asked them 3 tough questions. Let's see what they had to say about that.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden from Dreamport Productions. I want to give a big thank you to Zombie Chris for inviting me to collaborate on this video about Dark Universe. And when it comes to the Universal Classic monsters, it's so hard to pick a favorite. Some of my favorite right off the top of my head, I love the Wolfman. The transformation sequence in that first film is absolutely breathtaking. Even today, to think back to the effects, how they made it happen. I love the creature from the Black Lagoon. The design is so incredible. Shout out to Millicent Patrick who put that costume together. But my favorite has to be the Invisible Man. I just love how much of a raving maniac he is in that original film. And he's probably the scariest Universal monster because he can literally be anywhere and he has no hesitation in killing people. He'll actually kill you and then laugh in your face about it. But truly, I love all the Universal monsters, and I'm so happy to see all of them represented in this new land. If you couldn't tell already, it's hard for me to pick favorites, and that's especially true when talking about what's coming to Dark Universe. As far as a favorite aspect of the land goes, I'm really excited for 2 things in particular. One being the Monsters Unchained attraction. I'm just so excited. I love Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, and a ride of that type with the Universal monsters with advanced animatronics just sounds like my dream. Definitely my most anticipated ride from anything we've heard about Epic Universe so far. And this might sound crazy, but I'm super excited for the line as well. The queue looks so beautiful from what we've seen based on the model as well as the sort of concept art they've given us. I'm expecting that this ride will have some pretty intense lines, so I'm okay with that if the queue is as cool as it looks. And really the other thing that I'm most excited for when it comes to Dark Universe is just the land atmosphere in general. I really stand by the fact that I think this looks like a dark version of Disneyland's Fantasyland, and I think that's the case. It's kind of magical, but it's also kind of spooky, and I love that balance. I also love how there's just gonna kind of be roaming characters in the land. I think that's really interesting. And I, of course, can't wait to see what this looks like at night. We got a lot of day shots, but also at night, I'm guessing this is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Finally, how do I think this will affect Halloween Horror Nights in the future? For one, I think we're going to start to see the end of the Universal Monsters at Horror Nights. I know myself, as well as many others, love those Universal Monsters houses, but unfortunately, I think the time has come for them to, end, at least for now. Maybe they come back every anniversary year, they come back in a few years afterwards, but I think having Universal Monsters year-round in Epic Universe is going to mean we're going to stop seeing them at Halloween Horror Nights, at least in their own haunted house, free up that 10th spot for another IP. Another thing I'm kind of curious about, I don't have a full answer on this, but I'm expecting that Dark Universe will kind of carry over the vibe from HHN just year-round. Been hearing talks about the potential of 24/7 fog going on in this land, which would be really great and give those Horror Nights vibes even when it's not Horror Nights. I don't think it's necessarily going to take away from the feeling of Horror Nights, because it is quite different to what we see in Horror Nights Scare Zones, but I do think it'll kind of be almost like how the All Hallows Eve Emporium is in Islands of Adventure. Obviously on a much bigger scale, but a place us spooky folks can go to get that fix in the middle of June, for example. Those are just a few of my ideas of how this could affect Halloween Horror Nights. Thank you again to Zombie Chris for inviting me to be a part of this video. And yeah, nothing else I could say. Let's go Dark Universe.
And also to note about that whole land of Darkmoor, it states that over 65,000 different lighting elements bring to life the rich stories of Darkmoor's history. Many fixtures were custom designed and fabricated to tell the stories of the vampires and scientists. And you can see from the promo video, just from what's on the website, that if you let it sit there long enough, you can tell that they said that the light is going to like sort of pulsate. It's going to pulse throughout, especially at night. I think it's just going to be brilliant to see at night with that flame in the background, the big old mantle with the lightning sort of projected maybe onto it, some of the stuff throughout the town sort of pulsating, and year-round fog, which is going to be crazy that you're going to walk through this, especially at night with that fog and maybe certain lighting. And there's also a cemetery. Did I mention that? I think I did not. They kind of left these details out, and there's so much more. If you want me to make even more videos about this, yeah, let me know down in the comment section. And that was just some of the things that I noticed that I thought, man, these are really cool to talk about. And it's not just the bigger things. I haven't even talked about the ride itself or the werewolf on the Crystal the Werewolf. Let me know what you think about some of this stuff down in the comment section. Thank you all for watching, and peace out.